Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Less than a month till Christmas. Yeehaw. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you're all excited. Anyway, so um congratulations everybody on having a great weekend. I'm going to be excited to hear how Christiana's went. Um where I was a great time. And for those of you from that church that are now watching, hi, and thank you again for being so gracious and allowing me to come and fill in for you. Okay. Um, so what's happening tomorrow? The local NALC pastors are going to gather at Christiana. Um, And let's see, we're going to have chosen study tonight, men's Bible study, and hanging of the greens on Thursday. So we've got a lot. Pick up the pace. It's the holiday season. And typical us, we're now in a frenzy. So take a deep breath. Starting not this week, but next week, we'll have our midweek Advent services and time for fellowship and a catch your breath sort of deal. Okay. Um, we had a good Thanksgiving. Thank you for asking. Um, we had a gracious host and hostess that had gathered an interesting conglomeration of characters. We had a great time. Like I said, tonight, The Chosen. And anyway, um, so we're back to reading daily texts. The 2024s are out. You can pick one up in my office at Christiana, or you can order them online from groundupgrace.com, I think. Oh boy, where is it? Yeah, groundupgrace.com. The G, the U, and the G are all caps. However, for those of you that are, participating in Cyber Monday, daily text is also available from Amazon. Okay. All righty. So we're winding down Ezekiel. Okay. We're getting close to the end. So as we get towards the end of Ezekiel, the last few chapters are going to be hard to read. Okay. Mainly because I think it's like the last 6 chapters. Yeah. The last 6 chapters, which you'll be in by the end of the week, I skim them. Okay. It's the dimensions of the new temple and the new Jerusalem. It's all the details about that. And don't I'm not too worried about it. Okay. I mean, it's one of those deals where, okay, God's a perfectionist. I get it. All right, today you're reading 29, 30, and 31 of Ezekiel. And God really doesn't like Egypt. All right. I mean, he's kind of said he's got a wild hair about them. All right. Oh, and if you think that biblical stuff doesn't count, matter, come to pass, wow, guess what? When you read this, you will come to an understanding about God's hand in world powers. Okay. Um, Egypt is going to get slam dunked, literally, drop kicked, decimated, whatever adjective or verb you want to use to say Egypt goes from being a world power and a major player in the ancient world to basically being nothing. And as promised in Ezekiel, they never come back. Egypt has never really regained its footing as a major world power. I'm going to be generous and say in the region, they're like a second tier power, but they're not anything like what they were. Okay. And just about anybody and his uncle conquered them. All right. Napoleon, the British, the Islamic hordes, I mean, they were just, after Babylon got done with them, it's like their spirit was broken. And for those of you that have been to Egypt, I bet you find it hard to reconcile the people you see there with the concept of the Egyptians being a cultural wonder, intelligent, beautiful people. That Egypt's kind of a mess. All right. Lesson: don't make God mad. Don't be silly when it comes to God. Okay. So, you're reading the last chapter of James. James is rather blunt. Okay. I kind of get my counseling and preaching style from him, I think, you know. James has some final words. Okay. The opening couple of paragraphs in James 5 is basically against arrogance. Doesn't matter. I mean, he says the arrogant rich, all right, but it's for anybody that trusts in stuff more than God, okay? Who have all kinds of idols, usually those in the commerce department, okay? Those that have been dishonest, those that have taken advantage of subordinates, abusers, the whole rainbow of people that take advantage of somebody else. Okay, whether from arrogance, self-indulgence, or a fat checkbook. Excuse me. Oh, allergies. You gotta love them. All right, now, then there's some final admonitions for everybody else. Waiting patiently. Oh, gee, there we get into some trouble. Shame on us, especially the mid to late 20th century, early 21st century, we live in an add water and mix society, as my father said. That was his wise saying. Because when I was a little kid, my dad worked as a salesman for General Foods for one of their divisions. Excuse me. And he was working for them when Jello, instant Jello, and Jello instant pudding were released on the market. And that was the beginning of the demand for the add water and mix society. One of his products was Swan's Down cake mix or cake flour. You can hardly find something like that anymore because cake mixes now come, except for the wet ingredients, pre-blended. And it's just easier and more convenient than doing it from scratch. Scratch these days is not what scratch was when I was little in the 50s. Okay. So and for those of you that, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, so please do not take offense. For those of us who only cook once or twice a year, we realize what our elders went through when they cooked every day. Okay. Before restaurants got to be fast foody and commonplace, as in, the society basically eats out all the time. So James is speaking to patience. And of course, we're all very, very patient people, right? Long suffering, willing to wait, The kids in school are counting down to Christmas break. And we're, as adults, we're like kind of sort of act like we're above that. But as a pastor, I kind of see it all the time. We want what we want when we want it, and we want it right now. And Burger King has taught us that we can have it our way. We've added something to that little slogan, my way or the highway. Good luck with that. God's will be done. All right, let's pray. Compassionate God, thank you for hearing the desperate cries of people who languish under the oppression of poverty, abuse, or no place to call home. My heart breaks in recognition of my failure to respond to their need as you have charged. Transform my heart to love as you love and empower me to do your work here on earth. Building off the convenience factor, we are generous and charitable when it is convenient. If we're not too put out, and I'm as guilty of this as the next person, okay? I'm not pointing the finger at you without pointing the finger at me. We're compassionate and caring when it is convenient, or it doesn't demand too much of us, okay? Thankfully, God hears the pleas of those who are in need and will move the hearts and minds and pocketbooks of the people that he has set aside to aid them. Now, that doesn't let us off the hook. And I realize between the panhandlers on the corners, okay, they've almost become a Winston-Salem landmark. And if you gave to every panhandler you saw on every corner, you wouldn't have any money left. All right. Then there's the GoFundMe pages. There's the requests for charity and aid. I mean, our mailbox now, this time of year, is just stuffed. And I especially like those where they try to make you feel guilty. Okay. Save the spotted pumas. Because, I mean, it's almost like those sick chain letters. If you don't send this letter to 10 people, you're going to, develop fleas in your armpits or something like that. I mean, it's just silly. You have to pray about it. Okay. You have to sit down and ask God, how do you want me to assist, and whom do you want me to assist? Okay. We can't help everyone. We have to pick and choose. I know this sounds bizarre coming from a pastor, but it's better to go deep with one or two than it is to go shallow with a whole bunch. All right. Number one, if you go shallow, you're just writing checks. Okay. If you go deep, you're doing what God asks you to do to support those in need. You're giving of yourself. Okay. All right, Zechariah 7:10. Do not oppress the widow, the orphan, the alien, or the poor. Remember, when God says stuff like this, he's not just talking about physical widows, orphans, aliens, or poor. He's talking about situational, emotional, not poor and spiritual. Okay. The widowed spiritually, the situationally orphaned, okay, the poor who may have fat checkbooks, okay, but are desolate, okay, that those are the ones that actually need us more than. I know that sounds bizarre, but there are poor people out there that are very, very content. All right. And there are some wealthy individuals or people that we have as acquaintances that seem to be materially comfortable and are desperately abandoned feeling. Okay. All right. Ephesians 4:20. That is not the way you learned Christ. Ooh, Paul, jump back, dude. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. He started it. He's looking at me. Yeah, that. I don't know about you, but my mother always played the heavy sigh. That's not how you were taught. Okay. When she was heading for guilt trip level 1, guilt trip death con. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so see, the problem is that we know better. We really do know better, but we choose to act like, well, I didn't know any better. Yeah. Give them the shifty eyes too, right? You know, um, you know better. Okay. Uh, I'm going to give you the example. Trinity Chestertown, you might want to cover your ears because I warned you, right? You can't say you didn't hear this from me. And any of the churches in the Delmarva Peninsula that I had to work with that were vacant and calling a pastor, I gave them the same spiel. Okay. Do not, okay, pastors are a rare commodity these days. There are not enough to go around. So, what churches have a tendency to do, okay, is they get all excited about somebody. Then they start negotiating. There's another term for that. How low can we go and still get this person? Shame on you. It's not how you were taught. When you buy a bargain and putting it in your terms, hire, in my terms, call somebody, and you offer them rock bottom. In this day, 20, 30 years ago, oh, yeah, there were enough pastors to go around. You could afford to do that. You could basically cheat them. Okay. Well, we don't have to call you. Here's what we're going to offer. And it's substandard. Okay. You want a trained professional for Dollar Tree prices. Thank God the pastors that have come after me are smarter than that. Okay. And they've figured out that they don't have to put up with that. If you find somebody that you want to be your pastor, do not start figuring out how you can cut corners. Well, we don't have to give them this, we don't have to give them that, you know. Um, People did that to me for years, and I let them get away with it. I had no self-esteem. I was just happy to be serving and that God hadn't struck me with lightning. Then I watched other churches call very qualified pastors and offered them poverty level pay and benefits. Stop that. Pastors these days can keep looking. Okay. They tell me now that for every pastor out there, there are 4 to 5 vacant churches. If they're willing to expand their horizons, they don't have to put up with it. Okay. And hopefully, you won't fall into that trap. Looking for a pastor is not shopping for a Cyber Monday deal. Did you like how I worked in current events? Be generous. Okay. The Lord is generous with you. Show your appreciation. Spoil them rotten. Only one church that I supervise has ever taken me up on this. Okay. When I said, overpay them, spoil them rotten, they will work like a pig for you. Okay. Only one church did that. Most of them tried to get away with as little as possible. I actually advised a couple guys, I wouldn't work for them. I would not serve as their pastor, because what they're telling you with their pay package is that they haven't learned. Okay. Chestertown, when you called me, you offered me a wonderful package. And what happened? I came and I stayed 12 years and I worked for you hard. Okay. Generosity to the care and feeding of a pastor and their families is a reflection on the depth of commitment to God. And we don't have to. Okay. Case in point, one church that I served that shall be remain nameless and will probably close within the next few years, because it's a wasteland. Their church building is gorgeous. I helped design it. It's empty. They're using most of it for storage now, where when I was there it was filled to the brim. Every time budget came around, the same people would sit there and begrudge me any sort of an increase in salary. And I was already making well below district scale. And then, after they had literally taken advantage, they would sit and brag about their children that were my age and how they were getting bonuses and trips and how proud they were. I buried a lot of them. Okay. All right, folks. Obviously I'm making up for lost time, so consider this one and I hope the sound is good. We'll see you tonight, Christiana. Let's have a prayer. I am not in control. I am not in a hurry. I walk in faith and hope. I greet everyone with peace, and I bring back only what God gives me. Have a great day, everybody. See you later.